from 1978 until May 2000, it's time to stop wrecking and destroying that country. So I can understand what Mr. Nasrallah is saying, and I can even say I support it. But I don't think any of us wants to go there. I don't think any of us wants to, in our imagination, start conjuring what's going to happen when missiles start flying at Tel Aviv, Ben Gurion Airport, and Haifa. It's going to set off, or it could set off, a chain reaction which might, at the end of the day, even endanger us here. So, that strategy of Israel is the Arabs only understand the language of force. It's not only immoral, but it's leading to places where I don't think any of us wants to go. And that's why we all have a real stake in trying to end this conflict, because it's really getting out of hand.
A couple of questions ago, you had indicated that the two-state solution may be a possible solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Along those same lines, let me ask you, if Israel was to turn away from its human rights abuses.
If it were to what?
If Israel was to turn away from its human rights abuses and was to otherwise comply with its obligations under any and all international treaties that apply to this conflict, do you believe that it would then be the will of the Palestinian people and or the Palestinian government to recognize Israel's existence and live in peace with Israel?
The question, again, is a perfectly reasonable one. The question is, if Israel abides by its obligations under international law, what is the likely reaction among the Palestinians? And my response to that question would be that you can't reasonably expect the Palestinians are going to love Israel. It's as if you were to expect the Cherokee or the Sioux or the Navajo to love those people, namely the Euro-Americans, who displaced them from their homeland. That seems to me an unreasonable expectation. But if you were to ask, are Palestinians reasonable enough that if you achieve a resolution in accordance with international law, whether they will accept it with more or less reluctance? Will they accept it? I think the answer is clearly yes. My experience, just speaking now from a very personal point of view, I lived in the occupied territories off and on during the first Intifada, 1987 to 1993, and I visited over a 20-year period. I have quite close friends there. I visited about 14 or 15 times over a 20-year period. The first time I went in 1988, I was something of a novelty. It's true. I was American, I was Jewish, and so it was something of a novelty. When I went back in 1989, I was still something of a novelty, though less so. By the time I went back in 1990, 91, it was just Normstadt. Nobody could care less whether I was Jewish, whether I was American. At this point, most Palestinians have had lots of experience, including Gazans, lots of experience with good Jews, bad Jews, and indifferent Jews. A lot of what's called the International Solidarity Movement, the young people who go over to protect Palestinians. about between 20 and 30% are Jewish. So the Palestinians are able to make the discriminations between good Jews, bad Jews, and different Jews. And I don't think there is any real problem so long as basic principles are respected and expectations are reasonable. Will Palestinians accept the Israeli right to exist? Why should they? Would any Native American accept the right of Euro-Americans to displace them? The very notion is preposterous on reflection. Will Palestinians accept Israel as a Jewish state? But why should they? 1/4 of Israelis are not Jewish. So why should they? But will they accept that Israel is a fact and that you have to live with it in peace? Yeah, I think the answer is yes, so long as Israelis are peaceful.
All right, I see some more people are adding to the line. We're going to go ahead and do the time cap it at 3 more questions. So, sorry to those that are in line, but it's taking a little longer for the Q&A portion. Go ahead with it.
All right, thank you, sir, for coming out to share your information with us. My question revolves around what are many Palestinian people asking for is hopeful after the following that the violence does eventually stop, that human rights return as the norm. Many ask for the rights of return. I would like to ask what would be enough in terms of rights of return for the Palestinians, and what would Israel rationally be able to give in terms of rights of return?
Well, the question that's being asked, I always have to be sensitive to the fact that there are different levels of knowledge among the audience, and I don't want some people to feel left out. There is what's called the right of return, to which I referred earlier, and it's a question of the Palestinians who were expelled in 1948 and the succeeding generations. It now is a fairly large number, depending on who you go to. The number can be as many as 4 or 5 million Palestinian refugees. And the question that's been put is, will Israel accept 4 to 5 million Palestinian refugees? Is it reasonable? Is it possible? Is it plausible? What do we do with the refugee question? And my own view of that is, first of all, you have to look at the legal side. And on the legal side, there can't be any question that Palestinian refugees and the succeeding generations have the right to return. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, they all issued position papers in 2000 and 2001, and they referred to the Palestinian refugees, the formulation they uses, and succeeding generations which have retained the genuine links with the land they have a right to return. The Goldstone report, it refers twice to the right of return. So as a legal question, there doesn't seem to be any doubts. Secondly, I don't think anybody has the right to tell anybody else that they shouldn't exercise their right, or they should be stripped of that right. No, your only right, if you choose to exercise it, is to support another person's right. But you have no right to tell them that they have to give up their right. So, 1988, I went to teach at a place called Brooklyn College, and 4 years later, the axis of evil got its act together and decided it was time to rid their